Hello, Alia. Here we are again. Here's Annabelle. Say hello to Annabelle. Say hello, Alia. Alia. Hello, Alia. Chapter 19. A meeting with Martin. Timmy ran round the house and made for the moor behind. It was most extraordinary. Wherever was he going? "This is awfully strange," said Julian. "I'm sure George can't be anywhere in this direction." Timmy went on swiftly, occasionally turning his head to make sure everyone was following him. He led the way to the quarry. "The quarry? Did George come here then?" said Dick. "But why?" The dog disappeared down into the middle of the quarry, slipping and sliding down the steep sides as he went. The others followed as best they could. Luckily, it was not as slippery as before, and they reached the bottom without accident. Timmy went straight to the shelf of rock and disappeared underneath it. They heard him give a short, sharp bark, as if to say, "Come on, this is the way, hurry up." "He's gone into the tunnel under there," said Dick, "where we thought we might explore and didn't. There must be a passage or something there. But is George there?" "I'll go first," said Julian, and wriggled through the hole. He was soon in the wider bit, and then came out into the part where he could almost stand. He walked a little way in the dark, hearing Timmy bark impatiently now and then. But in a moment or two Julian stopped. "It's no good trying to follow you in the dark, Timmy," he called. "We'll have to go back and get torches. I can't see a foot in front of me." Dick was just wriggling through the first part of the hole. Julian called to him to go back. "It's too dark," he said. "We must go and get torches. If George for some reason is up this passage, she must have had an accident, and we'd better get a rope. Some brandy." Anne began to cry. She didn't like the idea of George lying hurt in that dark passage. Julian put his arm round her as soon as he was in the open air again. He helped her up the sides of the quarry, followed by Dick. "Now don't worry, we'll get her all right. But it beats me why she went there, and I still can't imagine how Tim and she came from the island, if they are here instead of on the beach." "Look, there's Martin," suddenly said Dick in surprise. So there was. He was standing at the top of the quarry and seemed just as surprised to see them as they were to see him. "You're up early," called Dick, "and goodness me. Are you going gardening or something? Why the spades?" Martin looked sheepish and didn't seem to know what to say. Julian suddenly walked up to him and caught hold of his shoulder. "Look here, Martin, there's some funny business going on here. What are you doing with those spades? Have you seen George? Do you know where she is or anything about her? Come on, tell me." Martin shook his shoulder away from Julian's grip, looking extremely surprised. "George? No. What's happened to him?" "George isn't a him. She's a her," said Anne, still crying. "She's disappeared. We thought she'd gone to the island to find her dog, and Timmy suddenly appeared at Kirrin cottage and brought us here." "So it looks as if George might be somewhere near here," said Julian, "and I want to know if you've seen her or know anything about her whereabouts." "No, Julian, I swear I don't," said Martin. "Well, tell me what you're doing here so early in the morning with spades," said Julian roughly. "Who are you waiting for? Your father?" "Yes," said Martin. "And what are you going to do?" asked Dick. "Going exploring up the hole there?" "Yes," said Martin again, sullen and worried. "No harm in that, is there?" "It's all very strange," said Julian, eyeing him and speaking slowly and loudly. "But let me tell you this, we're going exploring, not you. If there's anything odd in that hole, we'll find it. We shall not allow you or your father to get through the hole. So go and find him and tell him that." Martin didn't move. He went very white and stared at Julian miserably. Anne went up to him, tears still on her face, and put her hand on his arm. "Martin, what is it? Why do you look like that? What's the mystery?" And then, to the dismay and horror of everyone, Martin turned away with a noise that sounded very like a sob. He stood with his back to them, his shoulder shaking. "Good gracious, what is up?" said Julian in exasperation. "Pull yourself together, Martin. Tell us what's worrying you." Everything, said Martin in a muffled voice. Then he swung round to face them. "You don't know what it is to have no mother and no father, nobody who cares about you, and then—" "But you have got a father," said Dick at once. "I haven't. He's not my father, that man. He's only my guardian, but he makes me call him father whenever we're on a job together." "A job? What sort of job?" said Julian. "Oh, any kind. All beastly," said Martin. "Snooping round and finding things out about people, and then getting money from them if we promise to say nothing, and receiving stolen goods and selling them, and helping people like the men who are after your uncle's secret." "Oh ho!" said Dick at once. "Now we're coming to it. I thought you and Mr. Kirrin were both suspiciously interested in Kirrin Island. What's this present job then?" "My guardian will half kill me for telling you all this," said Martin. "But you see, they're planning to blow up the island, and it's about the worst thing I've ever been mixed up in. And I know your uncle is there, and perhaps George too now, you say. I can't go on with it." A few more tears ran down his cheeks. It was awful to see him crying like that. And the three felt really sorry for Martin now. They were also full of horror when they heard him say that the island was to be blown up. "How do you know this?" asked Julian. "Well, Mr. Kirrin's got a radio receiver and a transmitter, as you know," explained Martin. "And so have the fellows on the island, the ones who are after your uncle's secret, so they can easily keep in touch with one another. They mean to get the secret if they can. If not, they're going to blow the whole place sky high so that nobody can get the secret. But they can't get away by boat because they don't know the way through those rocks." "Well, how will they get away then?" demanded Julian. "We feel sure this hole that Timmy found the other day leads down to the sea and under the seabed to Kirrin Island," said Martin. "Yes, I know it sounds too mad to be true, but Mr. Kirrin's got an old map which clearly shows there was once a passage under the seabed. If there is, well, the fellows across on the island can escape down it after making all preparations for the island to be blown up. See?" "Yes," said Julian, taking a long breath. "I do see. I see it all very clearly now. I see something else too. Timmy has found his way from the island using that same passage you've just told us about, and that's why he's led us back here, to take us to the island and rescue Uncle Quentin and George." There was a deep silence. Martin stared at the ground. Dick and Julian thought hard. Anne sobbed a little. It all seemed quite unbelievable to her. Then Julian put his hand on Martin's arm. "Martin, you did right to tell us. We may be able to prevent something dreadful, but you must help. We may need those spades of yours, and I expect you've got torches too. We haven't. We don't want to waste time going back and getting them. So will you come with us and help us? Will you lend us those spades and torches?" Would you trust me? Said Martin in a low voice. Yes, I want to come and help you, and if we get in now, my guardian won't be able to follow because he won't have a torch. We can get to the island and bring your uncle and George safely back. Good for you, said Dick. Well, come on then. We've been talking far too long. Come on, down again, Jew. Hand him a spade and a torch, Martin. Anne, you're not to come, said Julian to his little sister. You're to go back and tell Aunt Fanny what's happened. Will you do that? Yes, I don't want to come, said Anne. I'll go back now. Do be careful, Julian. She climbed down with the boys and then stood and watched till all three had disappeared into the hole. Timmy, who had been waiting impatiently during the talking, barking now and again, was glad to find that at last they were going to make a move. He ran ahead in the tunnel, his eyes gleaming green every time he turned to see if they were following. Anne began to climb up the steep side of the quarry again. Then, thinking she heard a cough, she stopped and crouched under a bush. She peered through the leaves and saw Mr. Kirrin. Then she heard his voice. Martin, where on earth are you? She peered through the leaves and saw Mr. Kirrin. Then she heard his voice. Martin, where on earth are you? So he had come back to look for Martin and to go up the tunnel with him. Anne hardly dared to breathe. Mr. Kirrin called again and again, then made an impatient noise and began to climb down the side of the quarry. Suddenly he slipped. He clutched at a bush as he passed, but it gave way. He rolled quite near Anne and caught sight of her. He looked astonished, but then his look became one of fear as he rolled more and more quickly to the bottom of the deep quarry. Anne heard him give a deep groan, and at last he came to the top. Anne peered down in fright. Mr. Kirrin was sitting up, holding one of his legs and groaning. He looked up to see if he could spy Anne. Anne, he called, I've broken my leg, I think. Can you fetch help? What are you doing here so early? Have you seen Martin? Anne did not answer. If he had broken his leg, then he couldn't go after the others, and Anne could get away quickly. She climbed carefully, afraid of rolling down to the bottom and having to lie beside the horrid Mr. Kirrin. Anne, have you seen Martin? Look for him and get help for me, will you? Shouted Mr. Kirrin, and then groaned again. Anne climbed to the top of the quarry and looked down. She cupped her hands round her mouth and shouted loudly, You're a very wicked man. I shan't fetch help for you. I simply can't bear you. And having got all that off her chest, the little girl shot off at top speed over the moor. I must tell Aunt Fanny. She'll know what to do. Oh, I hope the others are safe. What shall we do if the island blows up? I'm glad I told Mr. Kirrin he was a very wicked man. And on she ran, panting. Aunt Fanny would know what to do. So, that's the end of chapter 19, Alia, and will Aunt Fanny know what to do? And I think next chapter 20, everything's going to boil up. So, that's it. Oh, here comes Annabelle. She's awake this time. She's giving you a kiss. Bye-bye, Alia. Bye-bye, Annabelle. Till next time. God bless.